Executive and IT. That's how come I got kicked out here.
And I wanted to check, did you guys want me to reschedule the afternoon session? Okay, I'll change it to 1:30 instead of 1 for the
Okay.
afternoon.
Sure. Sounds good. Give us a longer break.
Oh, I thought you meant reschedule another day.
Trying to get, now she's gonna facilitate a full lunch break. Okay, Renee. Come on up. Got a lot of, accomplices.
Let's see. Okay, you guys, where's the laptop?
Yeah, let me see.
Behind the monitor.
Oh. Huh? Huh? All I'm saying is that I asked you guys how we're gonna bring this over here, and y'all said, put it on. How are you guys doing this morning?
Doing well. Thank you, Renee.
All right.
I am, but I'm not connected to the intranet. I'm just the dummy screen. I got
You guys
kicked
are
out.
seeing it on your screen?
No.
Just me. Yeah, we got kicked out somehow.
So here. Is that gonna work? Now can you see it? I should have IT over here. I should have requested help. Okay, my name is Renee Hamel, and we're here to do our IT orientation that we haven't done in a few years. We decided to do a little shorter presentation this time, since the last time it was a little bit long and boring, so we're gonna do it a little different. Not sure if you guys know everyone, Crystal Reese, she's the head of our network operations. Chuck Singer is the head of our network support, and Chuck Reese is our infrastructure administrator. And then we have our back in our administrator, which is Matthew Beasley is our network and security engineer. And Kenji Kobayashi is our senior database administrator. So they're all here to answer questions after the presentation if you have any. So let's go ahead and go. On March 29th, 2000, the Tribal Council approved the transfer of computer services from the Executive Treasurer to the Executive Secretary, Office of Support Services. Included in their action was the approval of the centralization of information technology services into a single entity. Today, we are separated into 3 teams. On the side here, you'll see Chuck Reese with his on the infrastructure side. And then you have Chuck Singer with his employees below him. And then you have Crystal Reese over there with her staff below her. The infrastructure team deals with physical security, the physical network, and tribal police. Thank you, sir. The physical security side, we deal with all of the employees' identification, access control, video surveillance, and mass notifications. Chuck's section deals with the physical network. He's in the beginning of the engineering and the installation of the physical network, the communication facilities, audio and visual, emergency power, and broadband. So police, which they use the E9 system with the computer-aided dispatch, digital evidence, radio communications, e-citation, records management, the electronic ticketing, and the end user support. Section, he deals with the network, the security, and the services. The network, we make sure that there is connectivity to all CSK sites from Elmo to Arlee, redundant routes to the internet. Security, we deal with content filtering, firewall management, and endpoint protection. The services that his section deals with is remote access, identity management, VoIP, storage, monitoring, and the email. In Crystal's section on the network operations, she handles the evaluations, the desktop support, and deployment. So in the evaluation, she ensures that all IT hardware and software are compatible with the CSKT environment. The desktop support provides help desk support for the entire organization and troubleshooting all issues. The deployment, she configures and maintains workstations and laptops, and it's not just she, it's her staff. Maintains and configures all the other peripherals. Our future goals is always to increase security posture, reduce operating costs, empower remote workers, reliability and resiliency, and independent networks. So as we went along, that is the gist of what an IT department takes care of in any organization. And so we did the high end on how it works. If you guys have any questions on anything specific, we can answer that now.
Any questions from council? Of course, I always. You know what the part of the importance of technology to me, and I know that we've seen numerous things come from our executive team about our whole website. And so to me, it's like, how do you feature or how you intertwine or how you provide services for website maintenance, our whole bigger picture information that we're providing to the general public and how the public interplays with that. That's my question.
We actually have a request for proposal put out for the website through the executive team, through our website group. And we're still waiting for proposals to come through, and that ends September 26th. And it's going to be supported by them, developed by them, and then it will be supported per department. They'll have, like, NRD will have a website coordinator that collects information for the site to be able to post onto the website as needed. Does that answer? Are you looking for more?
Well, no, I mean, it's like, yeah, no, that, Crystal, that helps me. It's just, I knew there was a proposal out there. But I just wanted to know that, you know, that once it's done or we select something that we can take care of it ourselves, that it's something that we don't have to bid out other more work or updates or management of it, that it's all provided for in-house. That was, and you're explaining that that's the case.
Yeah, mail and stuff, and periodically I'll see stuff come out from maybe FCC on broadband funding. I want to make sure that you guys are in the loop, because I know there was a document that I was reading about yesterday, and I thought, well, I'll check to see if so-and-so got it, and that staff person wasn't even in the loop, which I thought, man, they should be. And I think I read something, and I think I sent it to you, Chuck, just recently on broadband, and I thought, well, Chuck's gonna be either mad at me for sending me this, and because you probably get inundated with this stuff. And so I just want to make sure that your leadership in the department is keeping you included on all of this funding and everything else that's coming down.
Yes, we're well aware of all the funding sources that are out there. There's one that just came out that's over $1 billion towards adoption and use regarding middle mile infrastructure, which we did put in for the tribal broadband connectivity program through the NTIA September 1st. We're still waiting the official word on that. That was a $41 million grant for middle mile infrastructure throughout the reservation. Is infrastructure. Yeah, so with that said, we're keeping in contact with the progress of the grant, and we've had some information that leads us to believe we're still in the running for the grant. A lot of tribes that had applied for the grant received a consolation letter, basically a denial, and every tribe that put in for an application received $500,000 just right off the top, just for the application process. A lot of those tribes never made it through a review process at all. They didn't hear anything back, once their applications were submitted. And we've actually been through 3 rounds of review, and we recently got an email that.
Sorry, that was the reason why I wanted to say, make sure you guys understood, we didn't apply for the middle mile. Is it middle mile the current one that's out?
There's like 2 that are due like October 30th, but it wouldn't, I think what she was trying to say is we don't want to go after something that would greatly complement what we're doing unless we know what we have coming is going to materialize.
The one that was being advertised, broadly, is the middle mile infrastructure. And we didn't apply for that one. That was up to 100 million. But it was the one before that for infrastructure and adoption and use.
Well, I didn't think that with Ms. Short sitting back there, you'd say, no, she hasn't sent me anything. So yeah, well, thank you.
There was one that got circulated here just recently, and I believe that was from a couple folks on council and Vilda Shelby as well over in economic development. It was a pretty small grant in the scheme of things. It was I think the cap on it was like $175,000. We could have went after it and probably been awarded. It was for discovery. It was just money that would be put towards a discovery, and there's lots of tribes that didn't get any money. So I figured, we're still in the running for a pretty substantial funding. There really wasn't any reason for us to go after that funding source, and the amount of grants that went out at $175,000 was only going to be like 27 awards. So I just figured, give somebody else a shot at it.
Go ahead, Len.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. So Chuck, back in 2015, BPA with has given us access to 2 unlit fibers to use for governmental purposes. Why haven't we accessed that yet? Is there something wrong with that system that we don't want to use, or is it just the cost of bringing it over? I don't.
To answer your question on that is, I believe actually in 2009 is when that originally got started. But all of our network that we currently have up until this point is leased services through Ronan Telephone Company and their existing fiber, which most of their fiber does, it's such a far reach to attach to those 2 fibers. Our access point to those 2 fibers is from Kerdam, or not Kerdam anymore, sorry, from the dam. And it goes from there to Elmo, and then from Elmo to Hot Springs, and from Hot Springs to Kalispell. There was also some pretty strong stipulations for us accessing those fibers, but in the scheme of things, it would have only benefited just connectivity in those areas. So really, any real beneficial connectivity would have been in the Elmo or Hot Springs area. And our biggest problem right now is backhaul. And where we get our backhaul from is Missoula. That's our internet. And we already have internet at those locations at that capacity. So,
Okay. So just out of curiosity, what do the tribes pay Access Montana annually?
approximately $120,000 a year.
Thanks, Chuck.
Any other questions from council? I get questions, Chuck, on the street about the towers and when they're fully functioning, and I guess that's the only that what's the scoop?
All right.
Is the funding coming, or?
I had a feeling that question was coming. There again, and these are all fortunate things that we were able to go after and materialize on those opportunities. But the towers basically stemmed, and just going back just briefly, from the CARES Act. And it was also complementing an opportunity we had prior to the CARES Act, was the Tribal Rural 2.5 opportunity, which is a licensed spectrum. Licensed spectrum in the United States right now is huge. The last spectrum auction they had, they estimated it was going to be about 900 million. It closed at $6 billion. They were way over undersold what that spectrum went for. So the 2.5 license that we were awarded and applied for and were awarded had a 5-year maturity date, which has now been extended 8 years. And a couple months after we were awarded the 2.5 license, the CARES Act came out. And then we were asked, well, what could we do to, with the money and technology? And one of the components in there was remote work from home. Well, the quick and dirty way to deliver network access is wireless. You don't have to go through a bunch of, a lot less EPA or environmental impact, and the cost is relatively inexpensive to deliver that access wirelessly versus wireline or in the ground. So we come up with the idea of these cell towers. We kind of racked our brains and thought that was a pretty slick way to go. And then we said, well, the light came on. And so we got a hold of Chad Cottet and confirmed that they did in fact purchase international towers out of Arizona. And we said, well, what a better way to deliver that construction phase than with a tribally owned company. So we got a hold of International Towers in Marana, Arizona. And I said, all right, guys, can you build 4 cell towers in 180 days? and they're just like, okay, you know, given these circumstances, well, with council and the IT team, we were able to build those towers. And we beat the deadline and we got extended a year. So, but two things happened. We beat the deadline for the CARES Act. We met the minimum requirements of the 2.5 license. And well, actually, thirdly, it also exposed a lot of problems that we had with getting the license and the towers, in the fact that no matter what internet or what network connection we could bring into it for backhaul was not sustainable at any capacity. So you have these towers, you have fiber, you got power, you have the equipment up there to broadcast the network out to the last mile to the home, but we had nothing to pipe into that network. We didn't have internet. We could barely pipe CSKT network, you know, just our local network into that. And we could put our internet connection that we have here, feed it through the towers. But it would crash our network if we opened up public access to that network. If we were just to randomly say, okay, we're going to deliver internet to everybody, and everybody goes home and turns their phones and iPads and gaming consoles on and TVs, it would have crashed the network. We do not have the capacity to deliver that. Well, then shortly after that, the Travel Broadband Connectivity Program opened up the grant. So we seen where the government, we sat in on several meetings with IT, and I believe a couple of council sat in on a few of those meetings where they were shaping this next award to bridge the gap between the CARES money that was delivered, the 2.5 that was delivered, and develop a sustainable funding source, or a sustainable avenue for the funding source. And that's how that was shaped. And it took care of the middle mile component that we were missing in the big scheme of things. So now what we did is we engineered an entire fiber optic network from Missoula to Kalispell, up 200, 212, through Camas, back around through the Big Draw. It's a truly redundant ring of 144 count single mode fiber, and including the systems to light it up. We also included in their backhaul connectivity services with major internet providers. So we will actually be serving ourselves like an ISP if we do get awarded the NTIA grant. At that point, we can then develop a utility of sorts, which is still in the planning phase of doing the last mile connectivity and delivering internet services, basically self-serving, not only the organization, but the membership, anchor institutions, emergency institutions, schools, libraries, the whole 9 yards. And it's carrier neutral services. Not to really dig into the weeds, but we've come up with a pretty sustainable plan. Our project was shovel ready. We didn't submit, a bunch of discovery and things like that. We did all of our engineering as we submitted the application. So long story short, I think we've put together as a successful application as possible, and we're just waiting for word. The last we heard on it was a week ago. Crystal got an email from the representative that was assisting us in our review process at the NTIA. That was a date change, an award period that was originally going to be June. She had us date it to September 1st. And Rick Inyas actually had to sign that and send it back to them. And it was an award period of 2 years to 2024. And that's what we've heard. So.
So the check may be in the mail. may not. Go ahead, Bing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hey Chuck, is there any more plans to make, building any more towers down in the Moise area and also over the Camas area, I believe?
A part of our engineering on that grant was actually 2 towers in Camas and Hot Springs, and 1 at the Bison Range. And then we actually had another tower because we, in our heat map, our simulated heat map, we got kind of a hole out by Kicking Horse and between Ronan and Mission up against the just at the base of the hill. And it was actually brought into question, as far as affecting the view or, having a impact if the tower was going to, culturally or environmentally affect the view of the mountain. And we actually spec'd out a tower that looks like a tree for that area. So, and that would be 180-foot big macro tower. So that's a really high powered tower. The towers over in Camas, I think, were 100-footers, but it would be more than enough to cover Camas.
It would be our tallest tree.
If we do get awarded, it's definitely going to start a very large process. We've done as much preliminary as we could given the time frame, and but once we do get awarded, there'll be a lot of discussions, a lot of decisions to be made.
Any other questions? Len, go ahead.
So just for clarity, Chuck, right now, our towers are just sitting idle until we can.
More or less. We currently, at this minute, all towers, we can communicate to them right from here in Pebble, all 4 towers, Oliver Point, Jetty, Boulder, and Pistol Creek. We have nothing to feed to them. We have some telemetry up there that we can check and see what the hardware is doing up there. We have some cameras up there. That's about it.
Okay. And the reason why I bring that up is like the chairman mentioned, we're starting to get questions about about how these towers are benefiting the membership. And I couldn't answer them. I didn't have an answer for them. So maybe that's some information we should probably get out with Charcusta, and so everybody has a better understanding of the big overall plan on moving forward and how we're going to use them in the future. So thank you.
Any other questions or comments from council? I have one more. Has to do with the Ronan Telephone Company. So I know there's been some discussion in council before that that it might be for sale. So I don't know if there's any advantage to that for us to own and operate that franchise or that or not, if that benefits anything.
If you could repeat that one more time.
I think it's okay. Ronan Telephone Company. You don't have to answer if you don't want. I mean, we're in open session, but I know that that's how that would, if there's any possibility of benefit for the program IT or services we're providing, or that last mile, I don't know.
I would address that in a couple of parts. If we do get awarded, there would be a different set of factors or considerations towards that decision. And if we did not, it would outline a whole nother set of factors and considerations towards, the tribe's involvement in broadband connectivity.
Okay. Close enough.
Works for me.
We're waiting for that check in the mail. All right, any other questions for Renee at all? No? Well, thank you. Thank you for the orientation.
You guys don't have any questions for the rest of the people?
We're fine if you don't.
I know broadband is quite interesting, but the IT program in itself, that's just one section of it. But I guess if you don't have any problems, then that means IT is doing its job.
Yeah, one time
Mr.
too,
Chair?
I was locked out of all my stuff and I still am locked out of it, but that's okay. I'm over it now. Go ahead. Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. Renee and staff, you guys have a huge, huge responsibility. And I appreciate the work that you guys do. You guys, if it wasn't for you, the tribe would not be operating. Just the way that today's world is set up. And so I've always appreciated not only you guys' prompt responses on our requests when we need you, but we're very fortunate to have such a high caliber staff. So just want to let you guys all know that you guys need to hear that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. You know, it's all magic to me and I'm illiterate and dysfunctional. It's way above my platform level. So, you know, I appreciate all the help. I know that you all have been great help to me in the past and you try to help as much as you can. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Renee and staff. Just wanted to kind of extend the thank you as well. Always kind of jumping in and helping, especially with the Dixon building. Especially when Anita was trying to do her meetings down there. I appreciate always the help with that. And I'm sure, she'd be thanking you as well. So getting that building set up and operating was something, an undertaking that was very greatly appreciated. So, and then all the work over the last couple of years with being able to do this, being able to zoom into a meeting. I really appreciate that. So thank you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
For coming in. We will break for lunch and come back at
1:30.
1:30. Okay, see you all back at 1:30.